Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. This is the show where we answer your questions about movies, TV shows, comic books, zombies or not zombies. Interesting. I am your host, DJ Wooldridge. With me, as always, is Roxy Stryer. Hello, Roxy.
Hello, DJ.
How are you feeling
like
today?
The Die Hard debate. It feels
What
like
is-
is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
No.
Is 28 Days Later a zombie
That bothers me.
movie?
That is a pet peeve of mine. Die Hard, a Christmas movie is a genre of film. Die Hard is an action movie that takes place on Christmas. You can watch it as Christmas, just like you can watch Batman Returns on Christmas. It is set during Christmas, but it is not the genre of Christmas movie. It's just not.
Boy. Ooh, you pissed some people off just now.
Yeah, I know.
Controversial take, DJ. Hot take.
My family is a big fan of Christmas movies. Watched a lot of Christmas movies growing up. It has its own genre and beats and elements. Die Hard is not one of them. Die Hard is excellent, though.
I don't remember. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
My personal favorite Christmas movie is The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm also a big fan of the Santa Claus. I like a lot of those movies. My traditions that have been looped in through my wife is now Nightmare Before Christmas gets heavy rotation during Christmas time and Halloween time. That's kind of a great, watch it during Halloween, watch it again during Christmas. You know what I mean? Bridges the gap. What's another one? Oh, she's a big fan of Jingle All the Way. The Arnold Schwarzenegger has to get the toy for his kid.
I think I saw that when I was a kid, but I don't remember it well.
Yeah, not my favorite, but hey, she watches the Santa Claus with me.
Happy wife, happy life.
Exactly. Everybody's got their own stuff. So there you go. What are we talking about today? We're talking about 20 years later. We're also got a lot of Superman DC Universe news that I'm excited to unpack with you, Roxy.
I'm really excited for the show today, DJ.
Yeah, it's
when
a good
I
one,
woke up this morning, I was thinking about, because I haven't been able to talk to anybody else about 28 years later.
Yeah.
And also I knew we were going to be doing DC stuff, and DC is my jam. Also you saw me rereading All-Star Superman, and so I'm just like in such a DC mindset right now. And you and I were like standing outside the theater after 28 years later, just chit-chatting really quickly. And this is kind of a movie that deserves to be broken down.
I agree.
Spoken about. So for both reasons, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Today's show is going to be sick.
And also, we'll get into it later. I did have some mixed feelings leaving the movie just because of very specifically the ending. But I kept thinking about the movie.
Me too.
Since we watched it. I'm like, no, I really liked that movie. I liked it a lot. Sorry to spoil my thoughts. But we'll get into the details later. That's what you have to stay tuned for.
Because that's your only thought. I liked it a lot. No other
I liked it a lot. There's no specific reasons, just generalized. I liked it. We'll get into it more. But before we do that, I did have some comments from previous episodes that I wanted to go through. This one is from our ballerina discussion, which is not doing well. And that bums me out that the ballerina is not doing so hot.
The movie didn't do well. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, it bums me out that our video didn't do well, but also that the movie's not doing well. Is a bummer for me.
That is such a bummer. I can't believe that.
I think, I don't know about you, Roxy, and I don't really follow box office headlines a lot, so maybe there's, but I feel like I've seen a lot of like, whoa, box office is down this year. And I'm like, gee, is it? I wonder why it could be that. Why? What could be going on that would cause that? Maybe all these businesses that supported a certain person for president should have thought the fuck ahead. Anyway.
Couldn't possibly be related, DJ.
People losing their jobs, being dragged from the homes. Why would that cause people to not go to the movies? Anyway, sorry, let's not make it political. Somebody in the comments is saying. Anyway, comments.
We're talking about movies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So in the comments for a ballerina one, Kofny, Kofny, New York. Anyway, I thought Ballerina was absolutely amazing. Some of the most creative action scenes I've ever seen, and I loved Ana de Armas in it. I just hope that all the future installments in the John Wick universe keep the quality. I can't remember the last time I had such a blast in the theater. I believe Roxy and I co-signed that opinion. We also had a blast. I
had some friends recently who told me they were like, I haven't loved a movie since Sinners from this year. And I was like, did you see Ballerina? They were like, no. And I was like, I loved Ballerina.
It was a blast.
It's
a blast.
Yeah.
It's not Sinners,
I'm not
but
saying
it's a
I loved it
blast.
as much as Sinners.
Yeah.
It's just like, I was curious
you and I don't know if we had this discussion on air. Vibes generally bad. Movies this year, pretty good. Pretty
Yeah.
good in the movies.
Vibes are. I've never lived through a time where the vibes are this bad.
Yeah, vibes are pretty
Every
bad.
room I walk into, and I've kind of stopped asking like, "Everything okay?" to everybody.
Yeah.
It's just like,
No.
obviously not.
Yeah, vibes are bad. Vibes are bad. Movies and TV though, pretty good this year. I don't know.
That's honestly, entertainment. This is why many of us get into the industry, is to create good vibes when vibes are bad. So
Yeah. Did you ever have you seen The Third Man? It's an Orson Welles movie. Let me see if I can pull up, because I don't want to try and pull it from memory. There's a monologue in The Third Man. Yeah, here it is. It's one of the most iconic scenes. Okay, yeah. I'm not going to spoil The Third Man. It's a great movie. For me, the most iconic part of it is Orson Welles gives this like really bleak monologue that goes like this. You know what the fellow said? In Italy, for 30 years under the bourgeois, they had warfare, terror, murder, and bloodshed, and they produced Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and the Renaissance. In Switzerland, they had brotherly love. They had 500 years of democracy and peace. And what did they produce? The cuckoo clock. And I've been thinking about that monologue a lot recently.
can't we have both?
Can't we have both? And also, I'll take the cuckoo clock.
Listen,
I'll take the cuckoo clock, man.
yeah, I get if it's one or the other, I'll take the cuckoo clock.
Yeah, I'll take it. I have a son, man. I'll take the cuckoo clock, baby. I don't care about Leonardo and the Renaissance and all that. I'll take the cuckoo clock. Anyway, the other part we had in that episode is we also talked at length about Andor and Last of Us. And this comment is in response to that from Cam4748. I think The Last of Us, both the game and the show, suffer from a lack of narrative focus. The story generally boils down to, quote, violence is bad, and, quote, everyone is the villain in somebody else's story type message. And/or benefits from specificity, making it very clear that systemic violence is bad. This is how it functions, and this is how it can be dismantled. And I know for people, mileage may vary on your thoughts on The Last of Us. However, one of the things I really do agree with in this comment is I do think generally part of what makes Andor special, especially among other Star Wars properties, is the specificity. It's not just like, Empire bad. It's like, why is the Empire bad? Well, the Empire is bad because it's doing these things to these people in this way. You know what I mean? I think that's when, for me at least, I shouldn't project on other people, but for me at least, one of the reasons I connect with Andor so much is the specificity in storytelling. And I do think in storytelling, specificity is a good thing. So
I talked about this during that episode, but I agree a lot with this comment. Even though I preferred The Last of Us, I agree with this comment because I think Andor has a much clearer perspective that they've shared with us so far. Which maybe The Last of Us by the end has a very clear perspective. But as of this moment, the perspective of The Last of Us is gray. And I think that right now, with the state of the world, we don't have a lot of room for grayness. Because things are so bad. So it's not but how bad? It's bad, just bad.
They're just bad. It's bad. Yeah. And we're out under the hypothetical, getting the because I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking about this with weirdly, it fits the show, but I was thinking about it with Doctor Doom. And one of the bits with Doctor Doom is he's a totalitarian, authoritarian, but what makes it complicated is things in Latveria. Doctor Doom's a problem. He's always trying to take over the world. But in Latveria, the people are happy in Latveria and people are taken care of. And I'm like, that's nice. And I get why, it makes your villain complicated. It's not one thing. That's not helpful now. That's not at this moment. That's not helpful.
Yeah, 100%. A tiny side tangent, but this is why I love right now talking about things like Superman, which we will get into.
Yeah.
Because I'm really in the mood to talk about things that make me smile and are about hope and whatever. Here's the kind of stuff that DJ we used to talk about on the show because it's stuff that I was into that I'm no longer interested in talking about. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. I don't care.
Who cares?
I don't care about every day I see a new headline for them, and I'm just we can't care about this.
Yeah.
Either one. I just can't bring myself
to
care at all about what the two of you are bickering about right now. And I'm not saying that that's not relevant to their lives and that they shouldn't be doing lawsuits. I don't really know, and I don't, but I just, holy crap, I don't care. So
don't care.
So funny because every week I used to bring you like fun stories for us to talk about. Now it's just like, this is not even fun for me anymore. You guys took away just about Donnie and Blake Lively fun for me.
Yeah, it is funny because of the way personal stakes exists in our lives, and it's like, that's not. Sorry, man, that doesn't make the cut right now.
Right, it's just not. It like a year ago, it was more on my register. Now,
has that been a year of that?
No, I don't think so. But I actually don't know, when did the movie come out, because
I don't know.
Started hearing rumblings.
Yeah, I know. Like, but if you told me like that, DJ, that was a year ago, I'm like,
maybe.
Oh my god.
Whenever it came out is when we started to hear that there was tension.
It's so crazy.
I don't know when exactly, and then that there was issues and unfollowing with the author. Leonard will tell us. You tell me, when did it happen,
Leonard? When did it go down? When did that movie come out? This last comment is actually from Spotify, from the episode that just dropped this previous week, where Sal and I were talking about the multiverse saga. Richard Shepard says, I love Thunderbolts. Saw it twice, once with the boys and once with the wifey. Thunderbolts also apparently not doing so hot, which also kind of bums me out.
I like that movie a lot.
Yeah. So
I really liked a lot of movies this year.
I'd say that's what a lot of shows. We got Severance. We got this year. We got I'm blanking on everything. Common Side Effects. We've gotten a lot. We got Andor. We got 2 seasons of shows that the first season dropped 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Who's said at this point? Was Silo this year?
Yeah,
we're getting a Silo.
It started last year, but then the last 4 episodes were this year.
It's been a good media year.
And now you're watching Stick.
See, it's been a good year. We just got to deal with a whole bunch of bullshit at the same time. Well, listen, gang, if you are also like, oh man, bullshit. Well, I'm trying to give our audience ways to help navigate the bullshit. One of those ways is each month I'm going to choose a charity. This month's charity is Children in Conflict, who raise funds to help transform the lives of children living through crisis, conflict, and war across the world by providing emergency protection, education, mental health support, and community advocacy. They're doing it all across the world, and unfortunately, we're getting in even more conflicts across the world. Which is vibes are bad anyway. But if you want to help, the children are some of the most vulnerable people in these conflicts. If you want to help in that, I highly recommend checking out childreninconflict.org. I also highly recommend focusing on your local community as well, and trying to find ways to help people in your community, because the vibes are bad. We all need each other now more than ever.
I want to mention something on this, DJ, really quick, which is that there's this thing called charitynavigator.org, which is a really great resource, because there's so many charities going around that tell you where a charity's money is going to, how much is going to a CEO, how much is going to the actual how much is going to kind of red tape. And you can see, and they kind of rank charities. One DJ's pick for this month has like an extremely high rating.
Yeah, I checked it.
About where the money is going. But just in general, as you guys are choosing your charities, it's really important, because I've just been seeing so many made up, not real charities recently, to check and make sure you're seeing where your money goes.
And that's a very great point, Roxy. And even, I don't know about you, when I went to one of the Gunn Kings protests, there was this guy like, sign this thing. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna, come on, man. I'm not gonna, I don't know what this thing is. I don't know.
I did the same thing this week, DJ, when I was at the Grove. Somebody asked me to sign something, and they said that it was about everything that was going on. And I started looking at it and reading the text that had nothing to do with everything. And I was like, what is this? And they're like, I don't know, man, I get $10 for every person who signs. And I was like,
yeah. So it is one of those things that definitely take the time and help the people around you, but also be cognizant of, because there's also going to be people that are going to try and prey on those situations, which is another reason I think it's important to also focus on your local community. Right. Because I think it's easy to get stuck in, there's global crises that are harder for individuals to impact. And I think charity is good. Giving to a charity is that, but I also don't want to fall in the trap. It's a similar trap of like, well, I posted about it, so therefore mission accomplished. It's like, well, no, get out there. And it's not easy. We live in a time where a lot of our media ecosystem is designed to keep us separate. And so it's harder to find. I mean, I think that's one of the things we're struggling with culturally is lack of community. Everybody's so atomized. It's hard to build a personal community, connect with people. So I think we need that. And I am recommending people try and spend that energy to try and build up the communities. And it could be anything, man. It could be if you have a D&D community, you know what I mean? Check in with those people. Any sort of, you have friends you go to the movies with. It doesn't need to be a political action thing. Just try and be cognizant of what the people around you are going through and see if you can find ways that you can help. And I think that's also will benefit you, the universal you, whoever you is listening, because it can be again, our social media is kind of designed to make you feel helpless. And so I think getting more active, it's something I've been trying to do, is try and get more active to help deal with that. Anyway, so that is that. Also, if you missed my comic, my Kickstarter, you can go to dangerboycomic.com and click the pre-order store link and check that out. We are in the middle of, Sean is going through colors, letters are done. It's getting very close to being finished. So don't miss out. It's really good.
Congrats, dude. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'm very happy with it. It's coming together very well, I think. I'm a fan of it. Speaking of being a fan, yeah, that's the transition.
Good transition. Yeah, nailed it. I thought you slayed.
We're gonna a lot of DC news that I want to spend some time on. First up, we've got casting of everybody's most anticipated DC project, Clayface. They are going with an actor, Tom Rhys Harries, which Roxy and I, when we were going to see 28 Days Later, were like, who? He was picked out of a huge lineup of actors that apparently included Jack O'Connell, who's going to come up in 28 Years Later conversation. Tom Blyth, who was in the most recent Hunger Games, George McKay, who's from 1917, which is a movie I really like. And the movie's being directed by James Watkins, who did the English language remake of Speak No Evil. This movie is scheduled to release September 11th, 2026. That's next year. That's wild. This is going to be the third DC movie. That's insane to me.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of into this. There's a lot of things that we've heard about it that make me kind of be like, huh? Including multiple of the things you just said. Coming out very quick.
Yeah.
With a person that we've never heard of.
Yeah.
It's the third DC film. All of that makes you go like, huh?
Yeah.
Woo. But I like that this is a low budget movie, low budget comparatively.
We might get it to, I think you told me this is supposed to be 20 million.
Yeah, 20 to 40, they said, which,
as opposed to the rumors around Superman, which is like 300 plus million.
Right. So I like character studies and focus on characters that are, I would call this, would you call Clayface a B or a C character?
C-lister villain, yeah.
So I like things like that. Would I think that it would come this soon in our new DCU? Probably not. But I think it's kind of cool that it is, because I think Gunn is attempting to, and Safran are attempting to set a tone and a vibe for what they are doing that is different. And they're not doing it because it's different.
Yeah.
But they aren't doing what Marvel did, which is, okay, here are our 5 main Avengers, and we are going to do one movie, each of them up to 3 movies, and in a rotation, and we're not going to touch any of the girly pops until we get way further down. That's what we're going to do. You know, like it was very, and it worked brilliantly for them. This is not me knocking that. Obviously, it's the most successful franchise of all time. So great job.
No.
DC is a little different. It's a little quirkier. And one of the things people love about DC is their villains. And so I think doing this Clayface thing where we are spending a smaller budget, we're not getting a huge star, and hopefully we're just focusing on telling a really interesting story and making it look really good.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting to me that DC would want to do this.
Yeah.
Cool.
I agree with all that. And I think when I think of the Penguin, well, the Penguin was good. You know what I mean? The hard part is for Spider-Verse, we just covered Kraven this week. And so it's hard to I hear you. Really? We're going to do the villain? Because I just want to see. You know what I care about Clayface, Roxy? Him fighting Batman. That's the part I care about.
But okay. To that point, though.
Yeah.
When we're watching Craven, you're never seeing him with Spidey.
Yeah.
Not on the table.
Yeah.
It's not on the future table.
Yeah.
So you're annoyed as like if when we were watching the first Venom movie, we knew Spider-Man wasn't going to be in it, but in the second one he would be.
Yeah.
You'd be so much more invested.
Yeah.
So with Clayface, we'll never get what you're hoping for. It's just that this very likely will not be a Clayface versus Batman movie.
Well, I do wonder, is this a way to, because James Gunn has been very direct about as of right now, the Batman Part 2 is still happening. He's like, I'm annoyed by all those rumors. It's still happening. We're waiting for a script from Matt Reeves.
I saw that quote today. He was like, you guys leave Matt Reeves alone. He is working on this as fast as he can. The reason you like the first one is because he wrote it. So everybody STFU. But he didn't say this movie is getting made. He said, I'm getting a script delivered. So I am still curious if it's happening.
Yeah. As of right now, we have a little bit of we're going to dive into this interview later. He did a big Rolling Stone interview that I actually found, I haven't been able to read all of it yet, but I find it really interesting. But he talks about Batman, and as of right now, it's not going to be Robert Pattinson. Is this a way to, as they try to crack their whatever the DCU's version of Batman is this a way to be like, here is our we have a Batman, here he is, he's showing up in the back third of our Clayface movie?
I don't want that, but I do hear a lot of people do. This week on Christian Harloff's show, he asked me and Mike Kalinowski, who I hosted DC Movie News with forever, about if we thought that Batman would be introduced in this Clayface movie. And I kind of think that might be a bit of a mistake because there's a way to do it. It's not like if I heard they were doing it, I'd say, that was so stupid.
Yeah.
But it seems a little ass backwards for me for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Additionally, I just think that there's messiness around Batman in general because over the last 10 years, we've had two other Batman, both who are like pretty liked. And we didn't, for BVS, we didn't start with a Batman movie.
Yeah.
And that was a big problem. We didn't know him. We didn't get to know him first.
Yeah.
And for this other Batman verse, I think people loved it because we did have a Batman movie. So I just think for all of the reasons, introducing Batman in a Batman movie is the right way to introduce Batman.
Yeah.
But I do think that we could get some kind of very end button of like a silhouette, a shadow, a reference, a line, a voice, a something. And I also think it'd be really, really hard in this current day and age, DJ, to reveal the actor in this moment, especially if we're doing something similar with Batman that we did with Superman, where like, imagine if we're watching a movie and all of a sudden David Cornsweet's there as Superman and you're like, who?
Yeah.
Like that's not really a reveal. It's only a reveal if you're getting Ben Affleck to be Batman. I'm not saying specifically Batman, but you know what I mean.
Some more famous. So,
for all those reasons, I kind of don't think it's the smartest idea. What do you think?
Again, Penguin was good, and Batman does not show up in that. So it could. And Mike Flanigan, I like a lot of Mike Flanigan stuff. And I feel like I get what we're doing. Two genres that still make money are superhero movies and horror movies. And horror movies are a few genres we allow to do mid-budget things. So this feels like, hey, we also do horror. I hope they understand, and I feel like with a lot of what James Gunn is saying, he does. I think one of the issues Sony ran into with Craven and Madam Web and Morbius, they're like, the tangential connection to Spider-Man is enough that we don't need to try that hard. And it's like, actually, you do. The Morbius brand is not strong enough that you can just shit out a Morbius movie and it'll make you money. You know what I mean? And Clayface is the same thing. You can't just like make a Clayface movie and have it do great. It has to be actually good in a way that I can't anticipate And again,
That's
Mike
for sure.
Flanagan's cut his teeth on doing horror, and they're probably going to make it a horror thing.
But why isn't he part of the project anymore? What happened that Mike Flanigan got?
I,
Like, I know they said that they're going with a lot of his original script,
yeah.
but I haven't looked into it. I'm a little confused on because I love Mike Flanigan.
Yeah, he's right now. He's probably promoting Life of Chuck. He's working on a Carrie TV show. There's been those. It's not even rumors. It was one of those weird things. He was announced to be working on a Dark Tower show for Amazon, and then they're like, "We still need to figure out the rights." And it's like, wait, so is he working on it or not? He's a busy boy, I imagine. So I imagine the impression I get, because they seem really happy with it, is like he turned in a script and he's like, "Great, I've got 15 other projects I'm working on. Godspeed."
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean,
That's
we'll
cool.
see. I have a question for you, Roxy. Since this actor who's been cast as Clayface, Mr. Tom Rhys Harries, is a relative unknown, Roxy, if your big break was a C or Z-list Batman villain, who would you want it to be?
One where you see my face the majority of the time.
I think we're going to see his face a good chunk.
It's probably going to be an origin situation.
Yeah.
So I think so too, but just
He might not be a lot in the third act a lot. He might be full monster at that point.
It's one of the reasons, like when we saw who was possibly up for this role, I was like, I wonder if part of this was about obviously money and partially about how often we're seeing this person.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we want you covered a lot.
Yeah.
Whose C-list would I want to be list? Well, I mean, this is not even really a DC villain or a DC hero. But forever after on the DC TV shows, after they introduced White Canary, I thought that was sick.
Yeah.
Loved watching her. So that was really cool. I don't think we've ever implemented White Canary in anything since.
No, there's also from the Batman the Animated Series, Roxy Rocket. Already has part of your name. Already has your name.
Whoa.
See? Her big thing is she rides a rocket. So
my doctor growing up was Rhonda Rocket. I thought that was the coolest name.
Her actual name was Rocket?
Rhonda Rocket.
That's wild. Well, think about it.
I know,
Keep thinking about it.
Everybody called her first name, last name. Like, those people who you can't just, like...
Yeah, you have to.
Dr. Rhonda Rocket. You're Rhonda Rocket.
Yeah. Well, especially since Dr. Rocket sounds... for both reasons, you want to be like Dr. Rhonda Rocket. You got to do the whole thing. Totally. Keep thinking about it. I did want to touch on this Rolling Stone interview James Gunn did briefly, because he kind of gets into the nitty gritty of DC, including Batman. He talks about how Batman, this is from the interview, Batman's my biggest issue in all of DC right now, personally. And I'm not writing Batman, but I'm working with the writer of Batman, and we're trying to get it right because he's incredibly important to DC, as is Wonder Woman. So outside of the stuff that I'm doing in the projects that are actively going, our two priorities are finishing our Wonder Woman and our Batman scripts. He says Batman has to have a reason for existing, right? So Batman can't just be, we're making a Batman movie because Batman's the biggest character in all of Warner Brothers, which he is, but because there's a need for him in the DCU, and a need that he's not exactly the same as Matt's Batman. And then he goes on a little bit to talk about how Wonder Woman is equally important, but kind of easier because we haven't had a million Wonder Women. Like, there's not as much like competition.
This is facts. These biggest facts, and I like when creators aren't afraid to be like, we haven't cracked this code yet, and we're going to work until we do. And one of these things is more difficult than the other. I completely agree with him on Wonder Woman. Like, it's been so interesting to see everybody say, it's got to be Audrey Arjona, and I'm like, oh yeah, she'd be awesome. And then people are like, it's got to be Katie O'Brien. I'm like, oh yeah, she'd be awesome. It's got to be Asa Gonzalez. Oh yeah, she'd be awesome. Like, there's so many different directions you can go with Wonder Woman. She can be short and stocky. She could be tall, and like we've just seen so many versions. She's Amazonian. She could be black, white. Like, there's so much to do with Wonder Woman. There's not that much comparison. She doesn't have to be gal. There's just so much.
Yeah.
Batman, we've had so many successful versions. I think people always talk about like how difficult it would be to play the Joker after all these versions, but it's like kind of equally as difficult to figure out Batman. Yeah. There's just been so many. So I like that he is looking at what's different than Matt Reeves and why does he deserve to exist in this world, instead of just like, well, we have to do a Batman. That's the right way to approach this. why. And I think that's fascinating. From you, who's much more well read than I about this, than me, than
Yeah.
point proven,
Yeah.
much more well read than I.
Yeah.
Uh,
Either way, I would have been like, yes,
um,
correct. That's
than
correct.
than me and I
Me or I, because
are.
I can't ever, I'd have to look at it written out. Me or
Yeah, I
I,
think it
what
actually
is it?
might be
Hold
I.
on.
You're much more well read than I am. Than I am about this, DJ. The point is of the question.
Yeah.
Is there a Batman from the comics that you feel like we have not pulled from that you would really like to see move to the big screen?
Less of a Batman from the comics. To me, I think the easiest in, and they've been talking about this, although it's not necessarily the direction I would go. I feel like the easiest in to Batman is through Robin. Because guess what we haven't done a billion of is Robin. And I would say Robin, because filmmakers are afraid of him. But we are now existing in a DC universe that has crypto. And a DC universe that has crypto can have a Robin. and I think that, and my point of reference for that, one, I like that Dick Grayson, Tim Drake. There's just a lot of great Robins. I've always really liked Robin. But I think a point of reference that I would use for this is there is a graphic novel called Joker, that's about Joker, written by Brian Azzarello and illustrated by Lee Bermejo. And what's interesting about it is that it is about Joker, but it's not from his perspective. It's from a henchman. It begins with this one new henchman that is picking up Joker from Arkham, and he kind of gets looped into Joker's unit. And so all we're seeing of Joker is through this character's eyes. And so there's times where like Joker's being the Joker we know and he's being a madman and it's like, oh my God. But then there's other times because he's living in the apartment with Joker that he like walks past the room and he sees Joker holding Harley by the waist and he's weeping. And it's one of those like, what is this guy's
Deal.
deal? You know what I mean? Like who is this person? And I think you could tell I think it would be a very interesting in on Batman to tell a Batman story through Robin's eyes that's just being pulled into this world. And so I think that Robin is a more accessible character than Bruce Wayne is. And so to see, it allows you to, just like this Joker story, it would allow you an opportunity to embrace the mythic aspects of Batman and the human aspects of Batman. And seeing that through another character's eyes, I think would allow those to live a little bit more comfortably and allow the audience to kind of fill in some of the gaps. Because Batman is tricky for a lot of reasons like we've been discussing, but also because a lot of times he's the least interesting character in his own movie. This is why we kind of gravitate to the villains. And it's something that a lot of filmmakers have tried to crack. Matt Reeves worked on cracking it in The Batman. Christopher Nolan cracked it in Batman Begins. And then it happened in The Dark Knight. Joker showed up and he became the least interesting character in his own movie. So I think to me that is you're in. And I know when they announced that it was supposed to be Brave and the Bold with Damian, who's not the Robin I would go with. Although I do like Damian, and they're pulling from Grant Morrison's run, which is one of my favorite Batman runs of all time. But that would be, if they pulled me in the room, I'm like, yeah, start with Robin.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if reverse engineering this. I've been saying forever that Brendan Sklenar should be our next Batman. I think that not only do I think he should, I think he will be.
Yeah.
Because we've been hearing his name and rumors and buzz. And
Yeah.
I wonder if they're reverse engineering this a little bit where they've cast or are planning on casting him and then kind of writing a story around the actor. Because like seeing what he can do. We have gotten a lot of angsty Batman recently. And I think that one of the strengths of Batman, although I don't know that we ever need to see pearls hit the floor ever again.
Nope.
But but will we? Maybe.
Yeah. Yes, probably.
One of the strengths is like he's deeply sad, and that sadness is extremely relatable to a lot of us who have experienced such loss. And he decides to use that sadness to kind of be two different people. And really split his personality into sad douchebag who uses it as a cover and sad, I'm going to help people because this is what's happened to me and I need to help the world and fight back. And I do feel like that would be something really interesting to nail, like a more like less about I've created this identity to cover who I am so nobody knows,
Yeah.
and more of an active choice of like, this is how I'm coping with what's happened to me by actively choosing these two different versions of myself to
Absolutely.
simultaneously exist. I think that Brendan Sklenar could really nail that and be
Yeah.
interesting to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing, because I think he's correct to like, okay, what makes it different from Matt? You know, it's tough to crack Batman. How do we, whatever? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is tough to crack Batman, and you got a Batman that did it. So just take Robert Pattinson. Just say that's, and I would also say like, yeah, guess what? Whatever Matt Reeves is doing, just have him do that. Robert Pattinson's our Batman, and then people are like, so the continuity same? Whatever. It's the same actor. It could be if you want it to be, but I'm not stepping on anything Matt Reeves is doing. He's not stepping on anything I'm doing. It's just the same. We got the same actor and a similar vibe, and we're going to run with that. I think that to me, that's another easy answer.
I don't think that's what they're going to do, but
no, I don't think so either.
I'm not as against that as a lot of other people are, because I also agree that they have cracked it, and I think that DC is so interested. Safran and Gunn are so interested in scrapping everything other than the things they've created. Peacemaker, Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see that part of the interview about the project that they are 100% scrapping?
I heard them mention that. Do you know more about it other than there is a project for scrap?
I thought that was people speculating that it was Waller.
I assumed it was the Sergeant Rock thing that we heard about.
There was a lot of people speculating that it was Sergeant Rock.
Yeah.
Just think that these are the kind of things I'm always thinking about too, which when we announce new projects, it's like, is that even real? Like, does saying a name of a project make it real?
Mm-hmm. It seems like less, again, he's been very, and to me, James Gunn has been saying all the right things, and we'll see how it all goes. But like this idea, the other thing that I want to bring up, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because we're running tight on time, but Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is now just Supergirl. And the reason he explained that, he's like, because the interviewer brought up like, oh, Superman Legacy was supposed to be Superman Legacy, now it's Superman. And he's like, James Gunn said something really interesting. He's like, yeah, we do this basically a pre-mortem where you get everybody in the room and you're like, okay, if this were to become a disaster, what are the things that would make it a disaster? I'm like, that's such a great instinct and something, because again, I'm reading this as we're covering Craven on Spider-Verse, and you're like, something I guarantee you none of those Sony movies did. Not as Morbius, Madam Web, Craven, not one of them had that.
Wait, but how did he do it in reference to Supergirl? He was saying
I think he was mentioning it in specifically with Superman Legacy of how they changed the title, and he said it in the sense of like, I'm the one that named it, but I was never like 100% on the name. And so in that pre-mortem, he brought it up and everybody's like, yeah, no, cut Legacy there. You don't need that. Just get rid of it. And it's less that and more like when you say stuff like, yeah, we're not moving forward till a script is done that we like. And also before we do the movie, everybody's going to sit down and we say, everybody can speak freely. What could make this a disaster? It's like, yeah, those are all good things that, it's weird that I'm surprised that that's a thing that people like. That should just be how every movie's done. Of course, you don't want your $300 million movie to be a disaster, man.
Yeah, every huge movie, every movie that ends up having 100 cooks, they should do that for sure.
Yeah. Like, so cool. I'm hopeful. You and I talked about this a little bit off camera. If the rumors about the Superman budget are true, a little worried about that, in that it's just a high bar to clear to be a success. But otherwise, I feel good.
To be worried about that is interesting.
That's what he said. I mean, he'll be fine. James Gunn will be fine.
Just like, we don't need to make a ton of money, and it's like Zaslav.
Yeah.
Agrees with that.
I would love to know the Zaslav's commentary on this. So when like James Gunn is like, yeah, we're not going to do a Batman movie just because he's the most popular character, Zaslav chiming in like, no, actually, we are actually.
I wonder what their working relationship is like. Like, do you think that they meet every week?
I would guess, and I don't know that this is true, I would imagine that's the Peter Safran part of the partnership. Yeah. Peter Safran's the one that talks to Zaslav.
It is interesting how little his name is being mentioned right now. Safran's name I'm talking about. Because Zaslav, it makes sense to not hear his name all the time, but everything's Gunn. Mm-hmm. I think we always thought Safran was more on the business side of things, but I am curious. I would love to see him down and be like, what do you do? What do you do?
Yeah. I would imagine we talk to Gunn a lot because he has risen enough that he is a brand in and of himself. Yes. He's connected to the creative stuff. When we're asking about Wonder Woman, Batman, he's the one we want to talk to. He's the face. I'd imagine Peter Safran's doing a lot of heavy lifting. A lot, I would imagine. That it's just not sexy, so we don't talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would think so too. I would love to hear more about his job.
Yeah, and if I'm if I'm in the gun position, I would want a Peter Safran. Like I don't want to have to sit down with David Zaslav any more than I absolutely have to. So you're going to be you're going to relate to me whatever he's mad about. You're relaying that to me, but you're dealing with that shit.
It's so true, DJ. It's extremely challenging. I find this challenging. I'm sure you do too, to be a creator and then have to take that cap off and talk to somebody about the business. Like when you and I are trying to make our movies and it's like we've written something, we're doing designing decks for it, we're thinking about color palettes and themes, and then you have to explain to somebody why you want their money. It's so hard to detach from like because this is so good and this is what it is. Just give me the money. Like
it's very challenging and it's something I don't think I'm particularly good at.
Same.
Yeah. So
working on it.
Yeah. That's all you can do. We all need a Safran. Every gun needs a Safran. Let's not end this episode without talking about 28 years later. Gosh dang it. We're going to do spoiler free, but we are going to have to do spoilers because there's something specifically I need to dive into with Roxy about spoilers. But spoiler free, this movie is the follow-up to 28 Days Later with the returning creative team of director Danny Boyle and writer Alex Garland. The synopsis is: a group of survivors of the rage virus live on a small island. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but all other survivors. Right now on Rotten Tomatoes, as of this recording, it has a 92% critic score and an audience score of 68%. That bums me out a little bit.
I'm so not surprised by that.
Yeah, I guess I'm not surprised. I am a little bummed, but I guess I'm not surprised.
I'm guessing what you're bummed about is that the audience score is as low as it is.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that that's totally fine.
Okay. Well, I mean, as far as I know, they've already filmed the sequel. So, but I do think it's a little bit of a Last of Us situation where it's like, be cautious how much you plan past that sequel. How maybe like with Last of Us, like maybe plan on having it be 3 seasons and not 4 or 5. Maybe you're.
It was wild. Like this is when we walked out of theater. It's very rare that I am trying to figure out other people's point of views super quick.
Yeah.
Usually try to walk out and think like, how do I feel about that?
Yeah.
I could not read how our audience felt until the very end when people started clapping.
Yeah.
It does not happen often at critic screenings.
It does not.
And I was like, oh, y'all loved this.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. But then afterwards, people were like whisper in their little corners. And then some people that I know started like saying horrible things about this, and I was like, is this going to do bad amongst critics? Then it did gangbuster amongst critics.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's going to be super divisive. It's going to be. I mean, did you see what Jeff Snyder tweeted about this?
No.
Okay, well, I love that man very, very much, but we disagree on like almost everything.
Yeah.
in life or otherwise. He said something along the lines of like, if you like this movie, you have brain rot. Like, okay,
that's wild.
Yeah, which was like, and I don't know anybody who's more excited for this movie than he was. If you like 28 Years Later, seek out a doctor immediately because you are suffering from brain rot. What a massive disappointment. I was pumped for that one. Loved Sony's marketing campaign. What a giant letdown. This headline doesn't surprise me. Talking about how they don't have financing for the entire trilogy yet.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh, this movie is, people are either super about it or not. It's just a lot of thoughts.
To your point, I actually am kind of surprised that the critics' response isn't more divisive. That everybody is like, "No, I'm bored." Because I know for me, and we'll get into this more in spoilers. I had to remind myself because the ending, literally the last scene they end on, is such a massive tonal shift that I had to like take stock in a second. Like, no, I really like that movie. The ending, I have mixed feelings on, but the movie I liked.
Yeah, DJ, you saw me afterwards, and I think you were a little more hyped on it than I was.
Yeah.
Even though I think I am as hyped on it as you are, I was like having a hard time processing the last 5 minutes of this movie.
It's wild.
And then I went home and I was about to film my review, and I was like, Rox, go to bed, wake up, film the review. Yeah. Because it was so wild. But when I woke up, here's what I remembered. I loved this story. It was so beautiful and moving. And while I was watching this movie, it could have gone on for 3 more hours, and I would have been so happy to sit there and see what they were putting in front of my eyes. I
Yeah.
thought the characters were interesting. I loved the relationships,
Hmm, hmm,
and this
hmm.
played out like an epic fantasy drama to me,
Yeah.
in a way that I thought was really cool. Like, I haven't said this out loud yet, and people are gonna laugh at me, but, like, parts of this reminded me of Lord of the Rings.
I
Like,
agree.
we were on a journey. So
Well,
without giving spoilers, I'll just kind of leave it at that and just say that when I woke up, I was thinking like, damn, I want to watch that movie again right now. I loved that movie. I think that the ending was the wrong choice, and I loved the movie.
yeah. I agree. I also it's interesting because the ending and the beginning connect to each other, and to me, those were the hardest parts for me to like grab onto. Like, what are we doing? What's happening? But once we settled into what is the movie, which I think you're right to evoke. I feel like I know what you mean when you say Lord of the Rings, because in some ways this has the vibe of a fable that the people that would live in this place would tell each other. Like, this
Right.
is the story of how this kid went out and journey of discovery, like classic stuff that just happens to be in this particular world and setting. I think they did a really good job extrapolating what this world would be like. Why would there still be? Because if I just watched 28 Weeks Later, which is my least favorite of the three, but that one has to explain why the rage virus becomes a problem again. This one it follows out like, here's why they're still around. Here's why it's a thing. UK's been quarantined off. You and I both talked about Alfie Williams, who plays Spike, who's the functionally our lead. He's the main boy.
He is
Fantastic.
so good. I haven't looked him up, DJ. Did he book before this?
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing, because I looked him up and I didn't see anything major before this, but he crushes.
He crushed this,
He
and to the
does
point where
such a good job.
whatever he does next, I'll watch it because I thought
Yeah.
his performance was unbelievable.
In the Discord, we had Mike Joyce say, "How do you feel about Spike's character and decision making? Personally, I hope Sansom rips his head off in the next one. I really dislike him and the kids in the previous one. The kids in the previous one, I don't think are written well because they risk everything to find pictures, and I thought that was kind of a silly choice that movie made. Spike is great. I'm sorry, Mike.
Answer it because spoilers.
Yeah, Mike. At least over this side, Spike getting a lot of support from because I think they do a good job of. Spike's not incapable. We see him on his first outing. He has a general understanding of the lay of the land and the world and everything. And I think his decision making tracks with me. Although I will say this movie did have a pretty easy in with me because of parent stuff. Like all the parent stuff, I was like, ooh, I'm vibing with this.
I feel like any character whose motivation is must do whatever it takes to help the ones I love, I can get behind.
Yeah.
Because then you can kind of make irrational choices.
Yeah.
But because I know why you're doing what you're doing, we've all, or at least I don't want to speak for anybody else. The only times I really make irrational choices in life are when it has to do with love. It's kind of the only time where I'm like, ooh, I'm going to do something super irrational right now because of love. It makes you act out of character sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as romantic love. I just mean that as like when you love somebody so much that you have blinders on.
Yeah.
That's very relatable.
I think Spike's decision making, and I think the other thing is, even when he's doing this stuff, he is pretty. The writing's solid. Alex Garland's a good writer. He's pretty clever. We see Spike is pretty clever and resourceful. I think the bigger critique is everybody in his life is holding on to a key piece of information that if they just told him, it would have made everybody's lives a lot easier.
Yeah, but to that I agree. But none of those are solid pieces of information.
Very true. Very true.
I think it still makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I really, the more I think about this movie, the more I like it, the more I like the choices that they made. What do you think about this? Because this is non-spoiler, but obviously this movie looks significantly different than days or weeks. Weeks look different than days. This looks different than both.
Yeah.
As two people who I believe our favorites were 28 Days Later, which is a much lower budget, $8 million. Granted, it was decades ago, but much grittier, much more raw, much more run and gun kind of movie. Do you feel like the bigger budget helps this franchise or hurts this franchise?
It's been longer since I've seen 28 Days Later than 28 Weeks Later. I just watched that one for the first time in the
And that
past
at a
week.
$15 million budget.
Yeah, and I thought that movie looked bad. And I know we're going. I want to say I meant to look it up before. I want to say 28 Days Later was filmed with like DV cam. Like it was really like we're going for really gritty digital. And this one tries
Some
to
people
evoke
said it
this.
was partially shot on an iPhone. I haven't gotten confirmation.
This one was. So actually I have an image for people watching the video
Okay.
version. Here's the rig that this is the funny thing. Like this is shot on iPhone. Look at that rig.
Right.
For people that are listening to it, it is a bunch of iPhones, but they've got expensive lenses and they're on a full rig. This is how they got there's a few shots specifically it's used when there's like a zombie kill and we get it from multiple angles. That's how they got it. To me personally, that's over directing. It's as just a preference. I don't like it when the directing calls that much attention to itself. I think Danny
for the performers.
just I as for like the for me I think directing, if I'm thinking, I'll think about it because I want to be a director. If your general audience is like thinking about how something was directed, you've made a mistake. It should be functionally invisible. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
So when he's like, this arrow goes in, here's an angle, here's an angle, here's an angle. It's like too much, man. Too much to calm down. Although I'm not going to knock this movie because one, Danny Boyle's a very kinetic filmmaker. Two, that's this franchise. That's what this franchise has always been. And to your point, I thought it worked for this movie. It didn't bother me. I think if we went back to like the DV cam thing for this movie, it would have bothered me. Just because why you want it to look bad. This still has a lot of the fuzziness and grittiness, but it's not as like what's the word, disruptive to my viewing experience.
So I totally hear where you're coming from. And I do think that when you start with an $8 million budget in a movie like 28 Days Later, which I just watched, so
Yeah.
I thought it was like one of the best looking movies of all time for the tone. I just thought it was so cool how it was done. And so much of it is actually blurry, gritty, like throws you into this world in a way where you're like, what? Oh my God, what is happening here? But once a movie is successful, you can't really keep using that.
Yeah.
Because the reason I like the way it looked is because they did what they had with the budget they had. You don't have a $70 million movie that you shoot like that. Or I think that's lazy. Like, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
So I feel like the only thing you can do is grow. But I will say that this movie looked a little polished for me.
Yeah, and I think that also lends itself to. I totally understand that. I understand that perspective. I think the other reasoning would be about how, in some ways, the tone's different because 20 Days Later is dealing with like the immediate collapse, where this is when everybody's kind of settled. This is what life is now. You know what I mean? Like
that's completely true, and I feel that way about the music also. Like the 28 Days Later score to me is mind-blowingly good. Like is maybe my favorite part of the movie. In this, we use a lot of tracks. We use a lot of songs with lyrics.
Yeah.
And at first, with the different shift in how things look and how things sound, I'm thinking to myself like, oh, I'm having a hard time letting go. I'm having nostalgia for the first movie. But then I really like afterwards was thinking about it. It's been decades. We have to. Why would I want the same movie?
No.
I want to see how things have evolved. And I think it's cool to implement different kind of music. Do I wish that we went to our original score to build a little bit more? Yeah. Sometimes I do.
Because it is an iconic, that 28 Days Later theme.
Right, which we don't get to, well, we do get, but I don't want to give away like when and what. But there's one moment in this where there's like an epically long run, I'll just say, earlier on.
Oh, yeah.
That I thought that would have been perfect for.
Yeah, that's a cool scene. That's also a scene that kind of dips its toe a little bit. There's a little bit of magic realism in this, and that's a scene that kind of dips into
Lord of the Rings, man. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I don't want to say that to people who haven't seen the movie because I think they'll take the wrong things from it.
Yes.
But like,
Well, and it's also Lord of the Rings. It is also Lord of the Rings in that this is very intentionally a British epic. They pull from, if anybody watched the trailer, it's in the trailer, but it's also in the movie. They pulled from the Rudyard Kipling poem Boots, and they cut to a lot of footage of like knights and castles, World War I, World War II. I think this might be our transition into spoilers because I do think that might have been part of the decision making in the ending. It's like here's other British stuff, and it's like but. I don't know that fits the rest of the thing. But spoiler free, liked it, would recommend seeing it if you liked the other ones or if you're just looking for a kind of cool zombie epic.
I'm with you. This is a top movie of the year for me right now.
Agreed.
It's not a top 3, but it is a top 10 and probably a top 5, honestly. I really liked this.
Yeah. So let's get into spoilers. And specifically, I'm going to jump to the ending. The bulk of this movie, we're following Spike. As we start the movie, he's on his journey with his dad, Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's kind of learning the ropes about going outside. Jodie Comer is his mom, and she's dealing with, it was a mystery disease to me. It was not a mystery to Roxy, but it was like, what are we dealing with? And I was a little bummed when we introduced Jodie Comer. I'm like, are we going to leave her in a bed the whole time? Fortunately, we do not.
Especially because we were building with this Aaron Taylor Johnson and his son movie, and I was a little worried. I was like, oh, are we just going to stick with the two of them on adventures this whole time? Like,
well, especially, because in the first act, they get stuck, and I'm like, okay, so now we're in the movie.
Right.
And this is what the movie is. Nope, fortunately for Jodie Comer fans, that's not it.
And also,
for her.
fortunately for the movie, I didn't need to see the two of them stuck for 2 hours,
Well, especially coming out of The Last of Us. It's like, father-child dynamic. Yeah, we did zombies. Yeah.
Totally. When we got there, I was like, enjoying this, but I hope this isn't the whole movie. And then it wasn't. And I was like, that was really cool. Good job. Good job.
Yeah. Likable but flawed father figure. Yeah. The other thing I like, for anybody that watched the trailers, there's this creepy...
I actually haven't seen the trailer, so now I'm interested to go back and watch.
It's a good trailer, but so you'll know Roxy because you've seen it. And we're spoilers, people that don't want to be spoiled. We see a lot of imagery of that mask that they have, like what is essentially a zombie mask with the arrow in it. And the celebration, they're celebrating Spike, but they intercut that with stuff with Ralph Fiennes, and so the implication is like, oh, you're going to run into this weird cult thing. No, unrelated. In fact, what I find interesting is the town is nice, it is peaceful, but there's things like that. They're like, there's something not quite right about this town. there's something a little off about the town. But anyway, the quest is they go find Ralph Fiennes, who's a doctor. Ralph Fiennes, surprisingly, is a scene stealing, incredible. He's amazing. Throughout the movie, we see a zombie that's tied up and it has the name Jimmy carved into its stomach. We see some graffiti with the name Jimmy on it. And you're like, okay, this Jimmy cat, whoever he is, it's probably going to be a problem. We meet Jimmy in the opening as a child. Flash forward to now, we don't meet Jimmy again until the end. And Jimmy is, I have it in my notes, what's the actor's name? Jack O'Connell?
Yeah.
Jack O'Connell. And Jimmy's got a whole gang of Jimmys.
Sinners is on a hot streak right now.
That's right, because he's everywhere. The vampire in Sinners, right? Ooh, good for Jack O'Connell, man.
He's everywhere right now.
Good year for Jack O'Connell. He shows up with his gang of other Jimmys, and they're all dressed like in these tracksuits. And I don't know what your experience was. Here's my experience, Roxy. We're at the end of the movie. We've had a very thoughtful, contemplative, emotional climax about death and mourning and everything that I found pretty moving. And now Spike is on his own, and then we see Jimmy, and I'm like, you know what? With his mullet and his tracksuit, and I'm like, you know what? I've seen zombie movies. There's some weird people in the zombie movies, and then I see the cross. I'm like, okay, so this is a guy from the beginning, and then I see the other Jimmys, and they're all dressed the same way, and you're like, we're pushing it a little bit, but hey, again, people be weird in the apocalypse, and then his team start doing bat flips. They start doing little games and gimmicks where they're together sawing off zombies' heads. It was the backflips that got me, Roxy. The little flipping around stuff that I'm like, what? That's where they lost me. I'm like, what is happening? What movie am I watching now?
Yeah, it felt like a bizarro, and I think it was supposed to shock us, and remind. Luckily, okay, just full disclosure to the audience here.
Yeah.
Going into this movie, DJ said to me right before, blah, 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 the trilogy. And I was like, what trilogy? And you're like, oh, this is the start of a new trilogy. thank God that you told me that, because otherwise, when we got to this place, I would have been like, that's the end of the movie. What?
Yeah. What is happening?
What is happening? Very clearly, they decided to use the last 5 minutes of this movie to set up the next movie. I thought that was weird. I think it would have been good enough to just see Jack O'Connell say, "Can I step in? Do you need my help?" And
roll
he'd be like,
credits.
and then, exactly.
Yeah.
Because we all knew it was him from the beginning because of the necklace.
Yeah.
And it's a trilogy, so it leads us through. It was the like staying on and me trying to now learn new characters because I didn't know how long we were going to stay with them. Because once we start seeing them, I'm like, oh, is there another 20 minutes of this? I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to like pick up like, oh, okay, so that whatever it is. And that's not what I wanted to be focusing on after we have, full spoilers, burnt the mom alive.
Yeah.
Skull, placed it, dealing with, and now like even Ray Fiennes' character, like, I think it's time for you to go home. This journey home. We've placed the baby. We've given the baby back. We have that epic Aaron Taylor Johnson like flip out moment where he doesn't go after him, which you and DJ and I would have thoughts on.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm going after my kid.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a parent, but like, you can't stop me. Anyway, there's all this stuff that we're dealing with that was true to the movie and paid off. And now I'm trying to memorize some tracksuit people.
Yeah.
It was just like, who do people be? What?
And I think it might connect to, again, this kind of the Britishness of it. Like, you know, the mod scene that's all part of this British history that's all being kind of remixed into this era. It's just so tonally, it's just so wild. It's just such a tonal shift. And it's tough too, because it's literally the thing we're left with. Like right before the credits, it's this thing.
This is what we do with television shows all the time.
Yeah.
But with TV shows, we don't have to wait the same extent. And we have more of it, more characters, more people, more time. This was just like such a weird move to me. And maybe once the next one's out, I'll like this move better.
Yeah, I am hoping, because I was a little worried, because I told you that we're doing a trilogy, but I hadn't looked it up, and I was a little worried that it's like in 28 years, I think it's called the Bone Temple, and we're following a completely different group of people. I'm like, no, you need to follow up on this, because I have questions.
Yeah, and also, did you get a sense of good guy or bad guy from tracksuit people?
I got the sense of chaotic neutral. I got the sense of if I were to guess, the next movie will be Spike is taking in with these people, and they seem fun and exciting, but actually they're a problem. Because we've seen, I can't remember what the graffiti said, but I remember it being vaguely threatening, and then the trap they left with Jimmy's name on, it's like, yeah, these guys, I get the sense that these guys are kind of a problem.
Yeah, me too. We saw, we talked about the beginning briefly, but we saw that he obviously had to deal with a lot of trauma as a child.
Yes. Because he's around for when the original rage virus originally breaks out. Yeah.
So we know he's been through a lot, but we haven't seen anything that makes me believe he's evil other than his vibe.
Yeah. Vibe is weird. Vibe is a little weird.
Yeah. And like also he waited and watched Spike kill before he speaks and was like, oh, good one. And it's like, would you have stepped in if you didn't find him to be an asset of sort, like, or if you didn't think this was fun? Are you helping because you want to save a kid's life, or are you helping because this is sport? Like, what's up? But those are not the questions I want to be thinking about after the movie.
Absolutely. Like, you want to be spending time, because the stuff with the mom and the way that resolves and everything with Ray Fiennes, I thought was really impactful. Do you think the next movie is called The Bone Temple? Do you think we'll see Ray Fiennes again, or do you think this is it for him?
Well, is what he had there the Bone Temple?
When I saw the title, I assumed so, and then when the movie ended, I was like, "Wait, is it?"
Yeah. I don't know. I would have to think we'll see him again, because otherwise, why keep him around? He also like comes in the clutch, and I also like why they explained why his skin looks like that.
Yep.
Because I didn't see the trailers, but during marketing for this, I saw so many people posting like, why is his skin look like that? What happened?
He's so good. I like him so much in this movie.
He's so good. But crazy enough, No, I can't. I'm watching a movie right now, a franchise that he is in. I can't speak any more on it. I'll tell you
Okay.
afterwards.
Yeah.
He's like maybe one of the top 10 best actors of all time.
He's so good.
So I don't think you would just get him for this movie. I think that you would, like, if he's willing to do this trilogy
Yeah.
and kind of pop in, then I think that you use him.
And I think I don't know if it's just rumors, right? Cillian Murphy is supposed to return in the second one. I would like Cillian Murphy and Ray Fiennes to be in a scene together. That'd be cool. That'd be pretty cool, I think.
So you think Cillian Murphy's been on the mainland?
Good question. My concern with whenever you bring back a legacy character, it's like, well, things probably aren't going to go great for him. Things are probably, that's the kind of the thing with Ray Fiennes too. It's like, but see, if we never cut back to Ray Fiennes, I can just assume he's fine in his little bone church.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, anyway, any final thoughts for 28 years later?
I hope that more of the audience starts to like it.
Please go see it. Good. I'm with Roxy. I think it's one of the better movies I've seen this year. But again, good year for movies. Check it out. Roxy, where can the kids find what you're working on?
Everywhere at Roxy Stryer, and I'm live at the Roxy on Wednesdays and Sundays. Sundays we talk television. Wednesdays we talk everything else.
Do it. Check it out. Links in the description. As always, you can find me at DJ Talks Trash. Check out my personal channel. I just did a discussion with Abe Epperson about the current state of movies. Go check out, if you haven't picked it up already, dangerboycomic.com. Go check out childreninconflict.org. Thank you for joining us. Patreon.com/onlystupid answers. I think those are all the plugs. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.